I'm Anil Kumar sharing with you an application question on quadratic functions. It is a test problem, so go through it very carefully. The question here is, the height of a rocket above the ground is modeled by the quadratic function h of t. If the initial velocity is 29.4 meters per second, and if the height of the launch pad is 5 meters above the ground, determine the quadratic function h of t, the time of the maximum height and the maximum height, right? So this is a very general question, and in this question we are not even given the equation. While those of you who have done a bit of physics will be in a position to answer it better. Anyway, the equation for projectile motion in such a case is kind of like this. H of t equals to minus half at squared plus initial velocity times time plus the initial distance or height in this case. Let me write h0, right? Now a is acceleration due to gravity, so a is 9.8 meters per second square. We are doing in meters per second square. So that is acceleration. V0 is the initial velocity, which is given to us as 29.4 meters per second, right? 29.4 meters per second. And h0 is the initial height, which is 5 meters. So we'll write h0 equals to 5 meters, right? You can check the units also. When I say 9.8 meters per second square, acceleration multiplied by t square, so second square will cancel, leaving meters. V0t meters per second, that per second gets cancelled by time, and h0 is in meters, right? So that is the equation which you can now remember, and these are the values to be substituted. Let's substitute these values. So we get minus half of 9.8 t squared plus 29.4 t plus 5. Now we can just multiply this by half, which is minus 4.9 t squared plus 29.4 t plus 5. So this becomes the general equation for a parabolic path, right? You must have seen minus 4.9 or sometimes approximated to 5t squared so many times, and that's the reason, okay? So that is how you get your equation. Now let's get back to the question. It says, determine the quadratic function h of t, which we have done, the time of maximum height and maximum height itself. So we can do completing the squares to answer this part. So let's continue with completing the squares. So to complete the squares, we need to take minus 4.9 common. So we are left with, let me put square brackets, t squared. And let's divide 29.4 by 4.9. So we'll do 29.4 divided by 4.9, which is equals to 6. Okay, because we took minus outside, we'll say minus 6t. And plus 5, let's keep it outside. Next step is do half of minus 6, right? So we get minus 4.9 t squared minus 6t. Half of 6 is 3. So we'll add 3 squared and subtract 3 squared plus 5, correct? Now you know these three terms form a perfect square. So we get minus 4.9, and here we can write t minus 3 whole square, and minus 3 squared gives us minus 9 plus 5. So that becomes our equation. So what we will do is, we have the answer, but we'll write it here. So moving here, we get h of t is equals to minus 4.9 within brackets. We'll multiply with both t minus 3 whole square, t minus 3 whole square. And now we'll multiply minus 4.9 by 9, which will give us plus 9 times 4.9, which is, let me write in decimal itself, 44.1. 44.1 plus 5, correct? There's this 5 here. Minus minus became positive. Now this could be written as minus 4.9 t minus 3 whole square. Adding 5 to it, we get 49.1. Now that is the vertex form. So the maximum, since this is minus, right, this is negative, that means we are expecting a parabola which will be kind of like this, right, where this point is going to be at t equals to 3, right, this is at t equals to 3, and the y value will be 49.1. So we can answer time will be 3 and the units are seconds, right, because meters per second. So it is 3 seconds, that is this 3, and the maximum height will be 49.1 meters. Correct? So that is how we can actually solve this question. It's a very important question, go through it. At times you may be given the formula itself, but don't be surprised if it is not given to you, correct? So have a good look at it. I hope that helps. You can subscribe to my videos and learn a lot. Thank you and all the best.